The grand hall of the Alliance station was filled with shining lights, soft music, and voices that carried across the wide chamber. Leaders from many worlds had gathered, wearing bright colors and symbols of their people. It was a day of honor and tradition. The ceremony of choice was about to begin. The purpose of this ceremony was simple in words but heavy in meaning. Young men from different species were invited to choose a bride from among alien candidates. These choices were not about love alone. They were about unity, about showing respect between worlds, about weaving trust into the fabric of the galaxy. Each choice was meant to bring peace and cooperation for years to come. Rows of brides stood in shining light at the far side of the hall. They were dressed in styles of their own cultures. Some wore soft gowns, some wore metal armor polished to a mirror shine, and some carried the proud marks of their people on their faces and arms. Many of them were admired by the crowd for their beauty, grace, or noble heritage. When the first names were called, suitors stepped forward to make their choices. Each time, there were claps and cheers as couples were formed and walked away together. Among the rows stood one figure who did not shine with the same gentle beauty as the others. She was taller than most of the brides. Her skin was dark like iron, and it carried scales that caught the light in sharp ways. Her arms were strong, and her eyes glowed with a pale fire that made many turn away. Her name was Shira. She had no soft smile on her lips. She stood firm and silent, like a stone in a rushing river. The whispers in the hall spoke of her as if she were not there. She is too fierce, some said. No one will choose her, others whispered. She was brought here only because they could not leave her behind. Yet Shira did not lower her head. She had lived with such words for many years. She had learned to stand still and endure them. Among the guests was a young human named Aaron. He was not from a powerful house or a long line of leaders. He was a simple man who had been chosen because of his steady nature and calm heart. Humans were still new in the Great Alliance, and many were curious about how they would act in such traditions. Aaron stood quietly, watching each choice as it was made. The hall was full of laughter and admiration, yet his eyes moved often to the figure of Shira. While others whispered, he studied her silence. While others judged her strength as a burden, he saw something different. There was a dignity in the way she held herself, a strength that was not pride but patience. When Aaron's name was called, the music softened, and all eyes turned to him. He walked slowly to the front of the hall. The master of the ceremony raised his voice, asking him to make his choice. Around him, the brides stood waiting, some smiling, some lowering their eyes, some shining with quiet hope. The crowd expected him to choose one of the admired figures, someone who would bring applause and easy approval. Yet Aaron's eyes went straight to the end of the line, where Shira stood, silent and still. He did not look away. He lifted his hand and pointed. "I choose her." The hall froze. For a moment, no one spoke. Then came the sudden wave of shock. Gasps spread from one side to the other. Some laughed softly, thinking he must be making a mistake. Others whispered that the human had ruined his chance to make an honorable match. A few shook their heads in pity. Shira herself blinked, her calm mask breaking for the first time. She had stood through many ceremonies in the past, always ignored, always left behind. To be chosen was something she had stopped expecting long ago. Her chest rose with a slow breath, unsure if this was real. Aaron, however, did not waver. He stepped forward with steady steps until he stood before her. His eyes did not show fear or doubt. He bowed his head slightly in respect, just as he had seen others do to the brides they chose. The hall grew quiet again. Even those who mocked paused when they saw the human's calm face. There was no joke in his choice. There was no trick. For the first time in many years, Shira felt her guarded heart move. She tilted her head, studying the small human before her. His frame was not strong like hers, his skin not armored, his presence not loud. But his eyes carried something that reached past her walls. He had chosen her not by accident, not by force, but because he had seen her and decided she was worthy. The ceremony continued, but the air was no longer the same. Aaron's choice had shaken the hall. Whispers followed them as they stepped away together, but Aaron did not seem to hear them. Shira walked beside him, tall and silent, but a faint spark lit inside her, a spark she thought had died long ago. And so the first step of their bond began, not with easy applause, but with courage to see value where others saw only fear. The ceremony did not end with silence. As Aaron and Shira stepped back from the shining line of brides, the great hall buzzed with voices. The whispers were no longer soft, they rolled across the chamber like restless waves. Many could not believe what they had seen. Why would the human do this? A voice muttered from one side. He has thrown away his chance at honor, said another. Perhaps he does not understand the meaning of this tradition, a third suggested with pity. The voices carried doubt, mockery, and confusion. Some even smiled with amusement as if Aaron's choice were nothing more than a foolish mistake to laugh about later. Aaron heard the sounds but did not let them rest in his heart. His steps were calm, his back straight. He walked beside Shira without hesitation. His hand did not reach for hers, for he did not know if she would welcome it, but his presence at her side was steady and sure. Shira, for her part, was still caught in a quiet storm within. She had stood through countless ceremonies, always left behind, always watched with unease. Her presence had been treated like a shadow that others tried to ignore. And now, suddenly, someone had chosen her openly, in front of the entire hall. She did not understand why. The two were guided toward the central platform where chosen pairs stood before the leaders. The master of ceremonies looked at Aaron with searching eyes, perhaps hoping he would change his mind. But the human gave only a respectful nod, and so the master announced his choice as final. When Shira's name was spoken, a ripple of surprise ran through the crowd once again. The leaders seated above the platform leaned closer, whispering among themselves. Some frowned, while others showed small smiles, curious rather than angry. At last, the master moved on, and the ceremony continued. More suitors came forward, more brides were chosen. Laughter and applause returned, yet from time to time, eyes still turned toward the unlikely pair standing together. Shira kept her posture tall and strong, yet her mind was restless. She finally turned her head slightly toward Aaron and spoke for the first time since his choice. Her voice was deep and steady, like stone-given sound. "Do you understand what you have done?" she asked. Aaron looked up at her with calm eyes. "Yes," he said simply. Her sharp gaze lingered on him. "Others see me as dangerous. They whisper because they believe you have chosen wrongly." Aaron nodded. "I heard them. Then why did you point to me?" Shira pressed. Aaron paused, searching for the right words. "Because when I looked at you, I saw someone who does not hide. You stood as if the words of others could not break you. That is strength. That is honor. And that is why I chose you." Shira blinked, her breath slow. No one had spoken to her in such a way for many years. Most avoided her eyes, or spoke of her only as a warning. To hear a voice filled not with fear, but with respect, stirred something deep within her. The ceremony ended, and the chosen pairs were led out of the great hall. As Aaron and Shira walked together through the long corridors, the whispers followed them like shadows. Guards and attendants glanced at Shira with nervous eyes, while others looked at Aaron as if he were either brave beyond measure or foolish beyond repair. Shira noticed each glance. She had grown used to such stares, but she was surprised that they did not seem to trouble Aaron. He walked forward with a calm step, as if the entire galaxy could whisper against him and he would still remain the same. They were led into a large chamber prepared for them. Inside was a table with food, soft light above, and 2 chairs. The attendants bowed quickly and left, clearly uneasy to stay near Shira. For a moment, silence filled the room. Shira stood near the door, her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. Aaron moved to the table, studied the food, and then turned back to her. "You do not need to stand apart," he said gently. "This place is for both of us." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "You speak as if you trust me." "I do," Aaron replied without delay. The answer caught her by surprise again. She searched his face for signs of doubt, but there were none. His calmness seemed almost strange to her. Slowly, with careful steps, she crossed the room and sat across from him. The two shared their first meal together in silence at first. Shira's mind was heavy with questions. She had lived with rejection so long that to be chosen willingly seemed unreal. Aaron, however, ate quietly, offering her space. He did not press her with endless words. He simply remained present, steady, and respectful. As the quiet meal ended, Shira finally spoke again. "You may find that your choice brings you trouble. The others will not forget what you did today." Aaron set down his cup and met her eyes. "Let them speak," he said. "I do not choose to live by their whispers." For the first time in many years, Shira's lips curved, not in a full smile, but in something close. A small light touched her eyes. She did not speak further, but in her heart, she began to wonder if this human's choice might hold more meaning than she had ever dared to believe. And so, though the hall was full of doubt, though the whispers carried on, a quiet bond had taken its first fragile root in the space between Aaron and Shira. The morning after the ceremony was calm. The great station moved silently through the stars, and the wide halls were filled with the light of distant suns. Yet inside, whispers still traveled quickly. Everywhere Aaron and Shira walked, heads turned. Some eyes held curiosity, some held doubt, and a few carried quiet respect. The attendants had been ordered to guide each new pair through the station, showing them their living spaces, gardens, training halls, and places of gathering. For most pairs, this walk was a cheerful time. Laughter followed them as suitors and brides grew closer. But when Aaron and Shira stepped into the long corridors, silence often followed, broken only by cautious murmurs once they had passed. Shira walked tall and strong, her steps echoing against the polished floor. The guards kept their distance, though they tried not to show it. Aaron walked beside her with steady pace, not rushing and not falling behind. His presence seemed small compared to her towering form, yet he did not appear smaller in spirit. He moved as though they were equals, and that detail did not go unnoticed by Shira. They passed through a hall lined with tall windows. Beyond the glass, stars shone like silver fires against a black sea. Shira's eyes rested on them, though her thoughts were not on their beauty. She finally broke the silence between them. "Do you know what they are saying about you?" she asked, her voice steady as stone. Aaron glanced at her. "Yes," he replied. "They call you foolish," she said. They believe you will regret standing beside me. Aaron's answer came without hesitation. Let them believe what they wish. They cannot decide my path. Shira studied him from the corner of her eye. She expected him to show a hint of doubt, perhaps a weakness hidden in his calm words. Yet his face remained steady, his eyes clear. He was not blind to the whispers. He simply chose not to let them guide his steps. They entered a garden chamber, where streams of water ran over smooth stones and alien trees reached toward the high ceiling. Other pairs walked through the space as well, speaking softly and laughing together. When Aaron and Shira entered, the laughter grew quieter. Some turned away politely, while others looked at them with open wonder. Aaron moved toward a stone bench near the water and sat down. He looked up at Shira and gave a small nod, inviting her to sit as well. She hesitated, unused to such gestures. In her life, most gave her distance, never inviting her closer. After a moment, she joined him, her strong frame lowering gracefully onto the bench beside his. The sound of water filled the silence between them. Aaron broke it first. "Do you like this place?" he asked. Shira looked at the flowing stream. "It is quiet," she said. "I prefer quiet." Aaron nodded. "So do I." Her eyes turned toward him. "You do not seem like others," she said. "Most would not sit with me as if nothing were strange." "Because nothing is strange," Aaron replied softly. "You are as worthy as anyone here." The words struck her like a soft but powerful wave. For years, she had been treated as an outcast, a figure to be endured, not welcomed. Yet this human spoke to her as though she were simply herself, nothing more and nothing less. She did not reply, but a small spark flickered within her again, the same spark that had appeared when he chose her. Their walk continued after the garden. They passed through a hall of banners from every world in the Alliance. Shira stopped for a moment before the banner of her people. Its deep colors spoke of strength and long traditions of battle. Once, she had carried that banner proudly into conflict, guarding her kin from danger. Now it hung as a symbol of peace, but for her, it carried memories of being left behind. Aaron noticed her pause. "That is your banner?" he asked gently. Shira nodded. "It was once mine to protect. Now it is only cloth on a wall." Aaron looked at it for a long moment. "Cloth fades," he said. "But the one who carried it remains." Shira turned her gaze to him. Few had spoken of her past without judgment or pity. His words carried neither. They were simple, yet they carried respect. By the time their walk ended, they returned to their quarters. The attendants bowed quickly and left, once again eager to be away from Shira's presence. She noticed it, as she always had, but when she turned to Aaron, he showed no sign of discomfort. He looked instead at the room, then at her. "This walk was meant to show us the station," he said, "but it showed me something else." "What was that?" Shira asked. "That walking beside you feels right," Aaron replied. Shira stood in silence. Her heart, once hidden behind walls of stone, felt a crack open within. She did not know what this human saw in her, but she could not deny that his presence was different. Where others gave her distance, he gave her respect. Where others gave her whispers, he gave her calm truth. For the first time in many years, Shira did not feel completely alone. The Alliance station hummed quietly in the dark of space. Outside the tall windows, stars moved slowly past, but inside the corridors and halls, life moved with careful precision. Aaron and Shira had spent several days adjusting to life as a chosen pair. Most suitors and brides had already begun forming friendships, but whispers about them never fully disappeared. The morning began with a special announcement. A practice session for all chosen pairs would take place in the training hall. This was a part of the station's tradition. Every pair would learn to defend themselves in case of emergency. The hall was large, with high ceilings, wide spaces, and walls lined with advanced training equipment. As Aaron and Shira entered, other couples watched them quietly. Some glances carried doubt, others curiosity. The trainers gave instructions calmly, explaining that the session would be a simulation of danger. Artificial creatures, harmless yet fast and strong, would roam the hall. Each pair needed to work together to remain safe. Aaron looked at Shira. She towered over him, her strong arms and sharp features reminding everyone that she was feared for a reason. He felt no fear, only curiosity. "Ready?" he asked softly. Shira nodded. "I am," she replied. The session began. At first, the artificial creatures moved slowly, testing the reflexes of the participants. Couples moved with care, stepping around obstacles, staying close to each other. Laughter occasionally broke the tension as some pairs stumbled or overreacted. Yet when one of the faster creatures broke away from the expected path, chaos began. The creature was large, with strong legs and bright eyes. It moved quickly toward the center of the hall, where Aaron and Shira were walking. The crowd gasped. Most suitors froze, unsure how to respond. The trainers shouted instructions, but it was clear that the simulation was testing reflexes beyond ordinary skill. Shira moved first. In one step, she placed herself between Aaron and the creature. Her arms extended, strong and precise. With a controlled motion, she pushed the artificial threat aside, her strength evident to everyone in the hall. The creature stumbled but remained unharmed, designed only to test courage and speed. The crowd watched in astonishment. Many whispered, "That is why she was feared." Others shook their heads, realizing how underestimated she had been. Aaron did not step back. He adjusted his stance, ready to support her if needed. "Are you all right?" he asked calmly. Shira glanced at him, her eyes measuring his courage. "I am," she said. Another creature approached from the side. This time, Aaron acted first. Using quick thinking, he guided Shira and himself to a position that minimized risk. Together, they moved in sync. Shira's strength combined with Aaron's quick planning made them a remarkable pair. The artificial creature was gently redirected, and the session continued. By the end of the exercise, it was clear to everyone present that Aaron and Shira had performed better than most pairs. The trainers nodded quietly, impressed by their coordination. Couples who had doubted them looked on with newfound respect. The whispers of doubt that had followed them seemed to soften, replaced by cautious admiration. After the session, Aaron and Shira walked toward the garden chamber to rest. The quiet water and soft light welcomed them. Shira's expression was thoughtful. "You did well today," she said. Aaron smiled faintly. "We did well together. You protected me, and I guided us both. That is the way we should be." Shira's eyes softened. "Most would have avoided me," she admitted. "Even the trainers seemed uncertain about us." Aaron shook his head. "I do not avoid you. I see what others do not. Strength, courage, and honor are not always easy to notice, but they are clear to those who look." Shira studied him quietly. She was used to hiding, used to the caution and distance others kept from her. But Aaron's presence, calm and steady, made her feel something she had not felt in many years, trust. Later, in the evening, news of their performance spread quickly through the station. Other suitors and brides approached cautiously, some offering words of encouragement. "I did not expect that," one said quietly. "You both were impressive." Shira accepted the words with a faint nod. "Thank you," she said simply. Aaron glanced at her. "You should accept it with pride. Today, you showed who you truly are." Shira's lips curved slightly. It was not a full smile, but it was enough. For the first time, she began to believe that her life could be different, that being chosen by someone who saw her value might change everything. That night, they returned to their quarters. The lights were soft, and the room felt calm. Shira sat by the window, watching the stars move slowly. Aaron joined her, his presence quiet but reassuring. "You were amazing today," he said softly. "Not just in strength, but in the way you moved, the way you thought. You are special, Shira." Shira looked at him, the flicker of a smile in her eyes. "I never thought anyone would see me that way," she admitted. "You are worth seeing," Aaron replied simply. The stars outside continued their silent journey, but inside the room, a new bond had grown stronger. Aaron had chosen the bride others feared, and in doing so, had discovered courage and partnership that others could not imagine. Together, they faced their first real test and had emerged not only safe but respected. For Shira, the day had changed everything. She was no longer just the scariest alien in the hall. She was a protector, a partner, and someone who had been chosen for her true self. And with Aaron beside her, she felt ready for whatever challenges the galaxy might bring next. The night was quiet aboard the Alliance station. Stars gleamed through the tall windows, casting soft light on the floor. In their quarters, Aaron and Shira sat near the window, the calm of space surrounding them. The events of the day lingered in their minds. The training session had tested them, but it had also revealed something deeper. Shira was unusually quiet. Her eyes, normally alert and strong, seemed distant as if she were looking at memories far away. Aaron noticed her silence and waited patiently, knowing she would speak when she was ready. Finally, she turned toward him. "There is something I should tell you," she said, her voice low but steady. "Something about my past." Aaron nodded. "I want to hear it," he said simply. Shira took a deep breath. "I was not always alone. I was trained from a young age to protect my people. I was strong, faster than most, and careful in every battle. I fought to guard my home and my kin. I believed my strength would be respected." Aaron listened without interrupting, his gaze fixed on her. He did not flinch or judge. He simply waited for her to continue. "But when peace came," Shira continued, "my strength was no longer needed in battle. People began to fear me instead of respecting me. They whispered behind my back. They avoided me. They called me dangerous and frightening. No one wanted to be near me. I was left alone, even among my own people." Her eyes fell to the floor. For a moment, the strong and fearless warrior seemed small, almost fragile. Aaron reached out and gently touched her arm. "You should not have been made to feel alone," he said. Shira looked up at him, surprised. You are different from others," she said. "Most would have laughed or walked away." "I do not walk away," Aaron replied. "I choose to see what is true, not what is easy. Strength, courage, and honor are worth more than appearances." Shira studied him in silence. For many years, no one had seen her for who she truly was. Now, a human she barely knew had looked past her outward form and recognized her value. It was both shocking and comforting. "I thought I would never be seen again," Shira admitted. "All my life, I have hidden pieces of myself, kept them locked away. I learned to stand still and endure the whispers. I believed it was safer that way." Aaron nodded. "You have survived because of your strength, both in body and in heart. That is why I chose you. Not because of what others see, but because of what I see. You are special, Shira. And being special is not something to hide." For the first time, a faint smile appeared on Shira's face. It was small, almost shy, but it was real. She had lived so long with doubt and fear of judgment that a simple word of truth felt like a gift. "Do you really mean that?" she asked softly. "I do," Aaron said without hesitation. "I see you. Not just your strength, but your courage, your patience, your heart. That is why I chose you." Shira turned toward the window again, looking at the stars. She spoke more softly this time, almost as if confessing a long-kept secret. "I have always wondered if someone could see me without fear. You see me without fear. It is strange and new." Aaron sat quietly beside her. "It should not be strange. It should be normal. But many do not understand what true value is." "I do." Shira let the words sink in. She had spent countless years thinking that her life would always be lonely, that her power and appearance would always keep others away. But now, with Aaron beside her, she felt the walls around her begin to crumble. For the first time, she felt that perhaps she could be accepted, not as a frightening figure, but as herself. The night passed slowly. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the station. Aaron did not push her to speak more, and Shira did not force herself to reveal everything. They simply sat together, side by side, letting the calm of the stars fill the space between them. When morning light touched the windows, Shira turned to Aaron with a newfound clarity in her eyes. "Thank you," she said simply. "For seeing me. For choosing me." Aaron smiled faintly. "There is nothing to thank me for. You are worth choosing. I only did what was right." Shira nodded, a spark of hope now burning within her. She knew the path ahead would not be easy. The whispers of doubt and fear would not disappear immediately. But for the first time, she felt that she did not have to face them alone. Aaron had chosen her, not for what the world expected, but for who she truly was. And in that quiet moment, a bond began to grow between them, a bond built not on appearances or approval, but on respect, understanding, and the courage to see the truth. The stars continued their journey outside the window, silent witnesses to a new beginning. For Shira, the past had been heavy with loneliness and fear. But with Aaron beside her, the future promised hope, trust, and the chance to be truly seen. The Alliance station had never felt so tense. Word of Aaron and Shira's performance in the training hall had spread quickly. Whispers that once doubted them now carried a mix of curiosity and cautious respect. Yet the quiet of the station would not last. Late in the afternoon, alarms rang suddenly. Red lights flashed across the hallways, and loud sirens echoed through the chambers. The station's defense systems reported an unexpected attack. Raiders from a distant system had appeared without warning. Their ships moved fast, and their goal was clear: to disrupt the gathering of worlds and take valuable resources. The leaders of the Alliance scrambled to organize defense teams. Other chosen pairs looked uncertain, unsure of how to respond. Many species had strength, weapons, and numbers, yet coordination was difficult. Fear rippled through the crowd. Aaron did not hesitate. He moved quickly through the hall, calling to others. "Follow me," he shouted. "We can organize and protect ourselves." Shira followed immediately. Her tall figure moved swiftly, her eyes scanning for danger. Where others hesitated, she acted. Guards and assistants froze at the sight of the approaching raiders, but Aaron and Shira worked together to take control. The first wave of raiders landed in the station's docking bay. They were fast, but not prepared for coordinated resistance. Aaron quickly directed humans and other species, forming teams to guard entrances and guide civilians to safety. His mind worked quickly, thinking of every possibility and every angle. Meanwhile, Shira moved to defend the center of the station. She faced raiders head-on, her strength unmatched. Each movement was precise and controlled. She did not fight recklessly. Instead, she used her speed and skill to block attacks, push intruders back, and protect those who could not defend themselves. Other chosen pairs watched in amazement. The humans and aliens they had once judged were now leading the defense. Aaron's calm strategy combined with Shira's raw strength created a force that even the raiders could not ignore. In one section of the hall, a group of raiders cornered a small team of civilians. Aaron and Shira arrived just in time. Shira moved forward, her presence alone causing several raiders to hesitate. Aaron guided the civilians to safety, using clever distractions and quick decisions. Together, they turned what could have been disaster into order. The battle continued, but the tide began to shift. The raiders had expected confusion, but instead faced unity and courage. Other leaders began to notice, sending reinforcements to support Aaron and Shira's teams. Slowly, the attackers were pushed back, their confidence shaken by the humans' unexpected skill and the aliens' fearless strength. After what seemed like hours, the raiders finally retreated. The station was safe. The damage was minimal, and the civilians were unharmed. The hallways, once filled with fear, now buzzed with relief and admiration. Leaders gathered the defenders. They looked at Aaron and Shira with newfound respect. Where doubt had once existed, there was now recognition. The human had chosen not the easiest path, but the one that required courage. The alien had shown that strength and skill could be guided by care and wisdom. One of the senior leaders stepped forward. "Today, you have shown us the value of trust and courage. This station and its people owe their safety to your actions." The words were directed at both Aaron and Shira. Shira, usually reserved, allowed herself a small nod. "We only did what was necessary," she said simply. Aaron smiled faintly. "We did it together," he added. For the first time, many who had once whispered doubts now approached them with admiration. Children pointed with excitement, leaders bowed in respect, and other suitors offered quiet words of praise. Aaron and Shira stood side by side, not seeking attention, but quietly accepting what they had earned. Later, in the quiet of their quarters, Shira spoke softly. "I never thought I would be seen this way," she admitted. "I was always feared, avoided, and alone." "You are not alone anymore," Aaron replied. "The way you acted today, the way you protected others, shows your true value. I knew it the moment I chose you." Shira looked at him, her eyes reflecting the soft light of the stars outside. For many years, she had doubted herself and wondered if anyone could ever see her for who she truly was. Today, she had realized that courage and strength, when guided by care and respect, could inspire even the most doubtful hearts. Aaron reached for her hand. She did not pull away. The touch was simple, yet it carried trust, understanding, and the bond they had begun to build. The station returned to calm, but the events of the day would be remembered. Aaron and Shira had faced the first true test of their partnership and emerged not only victorious but respected by all. For Shira, the turning point was clear. She was no longer only the feared alien in the hall. She was a protector, a partner, and someone whose strength could inspire courage in others. And Aaron, who had chosen her when others would not, had proven that seeing value beyond appearances could change the fate of many. Together, they had faced danger, acted with courage, and shown that trust, respect, and understanding were as powerful as any weapon. And with that, a new chapter of their story began, one that promised challenges, victories, and the chance to show the galaxy the true power of partnership. The Alliance station was quiet now. The red lights of the alarms had faded, and the hum of emergency signals was gone. Outside, stars moved steadily in the endless black, but inside, the halls carried a new feeling. Respect and admiration had replaced doubt and whispers. Aaron and Shira walked through the corridors together, not as the human who chose strangely and the alien who was feared, but as partners recognized for their courage and wisdom. Everywhere they passed, heads turned. Some looked with curiosity, others with smiles, and many with respect. The events of the previous day had changed everything. Stories of their teamwork, quick thinking, and bravery spread across the station. Leaders spoke of them quietly, acknowledging their strength, and other chosen pairs regarded them as an example of courage and unity. Shira, for her part, felt a lightness she had never known. For years, she had carried the weight of fear and isolation. She had been judged for her strength and her appearance, even among her own people. But now, she walked freely beside Aaron, not hiding, not fearing judgment. His choice had given her more than companionship, it had given her recognition, acceptance, and trust. They entered the large garden chamber once again. The soft streams and alien trees created a calm space. Aaron stopped and looked at Shira. "You did not just protect yourself yesterday," he said softly. "You protected everyone. And you taught them something they will not forget." Shira glanced at the water flowing over the smooth stones. "I never thought anyone would see me this way," she admitted. "Most only feared me or avoided me. You saw more." Aaron smiled faintly. "I saw what was real. I always knew you were special. That is why I chose you." Shira turned to him, her eyes bright with quiet emotion. For the first time in many years, she felt truly seen, truly understood. She reached out, lightly touching his hand. Aaron took it without hesitation, their hands joining naturally. The gesture was simple, but it carried trust, respect, and a bond that had grown stronger through every challenge they had faced. Later, leaders and other guests gathered for a final ceremony of recognition. They were called to the main hall, where officials spoke of courage, unity, and the strength that arose from partnership. When Aaron and Shira were mentioned, applause filled the hall. Not the polite claps of formality, but the genuine approval of those who had witnessed their actions. One of the senior leaders stepped forward and addressed the hall. "These two have shown us that true strength is not measured by appearance, rank, or fear. It is measured by courage, loyalty, and the willingness to act for the good of all. They chose trust over doubt, respect over fear, and they have proven that true partnership can inspire greatness." The applause grew louder. Shira felt a warmth inside her chest. She had spent many years in shadow, and now the light of recognition filled her. Aaron stood beside her quietly, never seeking attention, but simply acknowledging what had been earned through courage and integrity. After the ceremony, the hall began to clear. Couples and guests returned to their quarters, and whispers of admiration continued to float through the air. Children pointed excitedly at Aaron and Shira, hoping to hear the story of their bravery someday. Other chosen pairs came forward, offering smiles and congratulations. Aaron and Shira accepted them with simple nods, never boasting, but quietly acknowledging their respect. In the quiet of their chambers, Shira finally allowed herself to speak openly. "I feel different," she said softly. "Like the weight I have carried for so long is lighter now." Aaron nodded. "You are not alone anymore. We face the future together. Whatever comes, we face it as partners." Shira smiled faintly. "I never thought I would have someone who truly sees me," she said. "You do now," Aaron replied. The stars outside moved slowly, steady and calm, as if bearing witness to the moment. For Shira, the future no longer felt like a place of fear and isolation. For Aaron, the choice he had made so boldly had proven its value. Together, they had faced doubt, danger, and challenge and had emerged stronger, united, and respected by all. Their bond was no longer simply about being chosen or choosing. It was about understanding, trust, courage, and the willingness to see the truth beyond appearances. In a galaxy filled with differences and uncertainty, they had proven that recognition and respect could create strength greater than any weapon. As they looked at each other, a silent understanding passed between them. No words were needed. They had seen each other, chosen each other, and stood together through trials. That bond, now solid and unbroken, promised more than safety or recognition. It promised hope, trust, and a partnership that could endure anything. And so, in the quiet glow of the stars and the calm of the Alliance station, Aaron and Shira began their next journey not as the human and the feared alien, but as true partners, a symbol of courage, trust, and the strength that comes when one sees the value in another. Their story was complete in one sense, yet it was only the beginning of everything they could accomplish together. The galaxy would remember the day a human chose the feared alien, and how their partnership changed the hearts and minds of all who witnessed it. In that moment, the human and the alien stood side by side, stronger together than apart, and the true bond of respect, courage, and understanding was forever sealed.